Yeah, I think competitive coding is pretty much required for every company which comes for placement because the first round is the coding round. But yeah, there's a catch. Like the level of difficulty of the competitive programming based problems that differs from company to company. To some are like very specific companies which have their use cases related around more deeper competitive programming based problems.
Hello everyone, this is Manya from PlaceU and we are back with another illuminated podcast filled up with lots of amazing information and great experiences of the placement path. From a very astonishing personality who just got placed as a SDI intern analyst in Wells Fargo, Miss Ishita Dasgupta. Hello Dee, how are you?
Hi, Manya. I'm really great. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm also great Dee. So, before actually getting into the podcast, we would like to know whether you were preparing for some specific company or you were just going with the flow.
Yeah, so specific company, not really. Although, yes, definitely we all have some, dream companies in mind. But I have a plan of higher education. So I would like to aim for my dream company after finishing it. And when it comes to specific job role, yeah, like I was always interested in a role related to data science or data analysis. So while preparing for the coding rounds that are required in the placement season, still I kept, my heart open in my areas, my focus areas, and had some papers or some hackathons, which, it was related to the data science or data analysis related works or projects. So yeah, because I always believe that that would ultimately reflect in my resume or portfolio and when it comes to selecting my appropriate job role. So, and I think it really helped me in garnering my confidence more when it came to the interview rounds. And yeah, actually, to be honest, I got selected in the R&D sector of data science team in Wells Fargo. So not everyone got that. Total of, I think, just 5 interns were selected for that. So I believe it was definitely dependent on the interview, how I did. So my preparation for data science related job roles definitely helped me along that way.
Okay, so can you share a bit about your dream company as you mentioned that you are looking for some higher education and all?
I think I can answer that more after completing my higher education and being in a state where I would be confident with myself that, yeah, I can aim for that. So right now it's kind of private and personal. Let's keep it to that. We'll definitely share much more along the way.
No issues. Okay, so as we all know that you're going to be an SDI intern analyst at Fargo. So everyone in our audience is also curious to hear about your placement journey, like when did you start and from where you studied or practiced data structures and competitive coding.
Right, yeah. So started around 4 to 5 months earlier, but to be very honest, grilled mostly for the last 2 months because it's really not possible, to manage everything, CGPA, placement studies, as well as projects and all other things. So yeah, first thing that really helped me a lot was lead code. Definitely, I try to do at least 1 to 2 problems every day starting from now. So in that case, we'll cover a huge set of problems. Then there is a very cool 75 blind lead code problems that's there in their playlist. So it's also very great. Even pep coding helped, and obviously dynamic programming of Aditya Verma helped, and the roadmaps that many pep coding playlist create, they also really helped me for the last couple of months, because not only coding but also the basic computer fundamentals like DSA, then DBMS, OOP, software engineering principles, all of that are also important when it comes to placement. So for that, I'll say I did not take much time. It was around last 2 weeks, because no matter how much you read, you will forget it. So you have to keep it as close to your placement season as possible. And data structure, I'd say that I studied. I was really interested when it was part of our course in college as well. So, and more coding you do, more video playlists you watch regarding the concept clearance and all, it would get more easier for you, and you'll gradually gain the confidence in problem solving and all that. So keep a time of, if you start from now, you'll definitely get around 4 to 5 months in hand. So I think it's definitely enough for cracking any companies.
Okay, so as you mentioned that you've been practicing on lead code, so is competitive coding really necessary for getting placed in companies like Fargo?
Yeah, I think competitive coding is pretty much required for every company which comes for placement because the first round is the coding round. But yeah, there's a catch, like the level of difficulty of the competitive programming based problems that differs from company to company. So some are like very specific companies which have their use cases related around more deeper competitive programming based problems. So for that, lead code won't be enough alone. You have to go for code chef and all the other platforms which are more advanced and give more complex real life scenarios based problems. So yeah, the level depends from company to company, but in general, CP is definitely required for cracking the first round in the placements.
Okay, so like any hot topics of DSA that you think are very important and should be covered?
Right, so the number one thing is definitely dynamic programming because a lot of the problems revolve around that. Even graphical based problems, trees and graphs, they're also very important because in many companies, while I sat for, I saw some real life scenario based problem statements which involved approaching from a graph based or tree based structure. And yeah, I think these two are definitely most important. Also, the basic templates like the linked lists and all, they're also really important, queues and everything, because not only for coding rounds, but also for the interview rounds, they can definitely ask you, like a situation they will give you and say that which data structure you think is appropriate for it. So for that, you need to have a basic understanding of all of the data structures that are present so that you can approach with a clear mind, and you can also even sometimes differentiate that yeah, linked list might be better for this, but queues might give a more real life advantage over it. So yeah, that's why these are also some very important topics.
Okay, that was quite informative. Also, there is a very common doubt among the juniors at which language to choose to start with. And is there any upper hand of any language over the other?
Everyone will agree to this, but not Python for competitive coding because we all know the time limit thing that happens with Python. It's very important when it comes to development or backend engineering or other things, but when it comes to competitive coding, we should stick more to Java or C++ based. So in between Java and C++, there is no such differentiation, I'd say, whichever you're comfortable with. So we, in our 10+2 level, some of us from computer science backgrounds would probably have some knowledge in, let's say, Java or C++, depends on the board also. So whichever language you're comfortable with, that's fine. But I think one thing I would suggest is that have a basic understanding of all the three languages, Python, Java, C++, or C-based languages, because sometimes in many online coding, in the first rounds, that's the coding round plus aptitude or technical abilities, all that round. Sometimes there are some technical questions related to any of the three languages. So if you're only comfortable with Java and know nothing about C++, so it will be affecting you at some times. So it's good to have a basic knowledge like MCQ type questions about all the three languages. So in that case, you will be sound not only from the coding aspect, but also from the technical questions aspect point.
Okay, so like basically having basic knowledge about everything and mastering one language.
Right, totally.
Okay. And like many of the third years who are listening to this podcast and are aiming to be SDI intern in such companies like Wells Fargo, and they still have like 6 months of preparation in their hands. So is it possible for them to prepare in such less time? And if yes, then what must be the proper procedure that they should follow?
Oh yeah, 6 months is a lot. 6 months is really a lot. When I look back, I think properly I studied for only 2 to 3 months. So yeah, 6 months is a lot. And every day, if your dedication is at your level that you every day can solve at least 2 to 3 problems, then a huge range of problems would be covered by end of 6 months. But yeah, you should definitely have a structure that this amount of time I should devote to at least two to three problems, so that you always keep a touch. Because one thing that's very important in this coding world is that you should have a touch, because there are lots of concepts involved which it's not likely to be remembered throughout. So more you keep in touch with it, more problems, more concepts you solve. It's all about practice. Everything is all about practice, but when it comes to coding, it's definitely even more. It holds even more. So 6 months is a huge lot, and you can do anything in the 6 months. And if you start from now, then it will definitely vibe well. So you can go to any company you dream of. So yeah.
This actually gives us confidence, because I thought that since we are in our 4th, 5th semester, so we are late in preparation of these placements.
Oh no, not at all.
Okay, so like, do projects play an important role in selection, and what are the hot topics on which one can have a project?
Yeah, not prior to selection, because when it comes to placement, really none of our resumes mattered. All what mattered is the coding round for clearing. But yeah, post coding round, the interviews and all, projects really matter, because if you can make your resume stand out and have some really good projects in your resume, then you can interact more with the interviewer. And it might also happen that your interest kind of align or resonate with the interests of the interviewer. Then you can talk more, or it gives you a very in-depth knowledge of the different tech stacks and everything included. So like in the interview round, or even the interview plus managerial round, it's not just related to DSA. It will be like they will give you a real life situation, or tell you to model a situation out of it. So for that, you need to have a very diversified approach to problem solving, not only the problem solving approach, but also the business aspect, the marketing aspect, the future aspect of the product, or whatever the situation holds. Like, so how would you like bring up that knowledge? More you have projects, more you have experience in real life development works or product development, so more it will help you in the interview rounds, or even the interview plus managerial rounds. So yeah, projects are definitely useful. I think I remember that in one of my interviews as well, I had a project related to an e-commerce site. So the interviewer really liked it. He said that I think it can have a future, but then what do you think that it can be the shortcomings of it? So be confident of the projects that you are mentioning in your resume. So be sure to have a sound knowledge of every aspect of the product, because they will ask you questions if one of them likes, suppose, let's say, one out of the four projects you mentioned. So you should be really confident about the entire roadmap of how you proceeded, or what are the future aspects of it. So right, yeah, projects are very important. And when it comes to hot topics, I can mention a lot, but it should definitely depend on your interest and what you like, and should definitely align with your work. So like for me, the hot topics would be AI, ML, deep learning, computer vision, NLP, natural language processing, and also Web3 space of blockchain and all. They're all really the cool hot topics nowadays. So if your interests align with that, then definitely find a good team or members which whose interest also match with yours. Brainstorm and participate in hackathons. Because the time bound thing in hackathons helps you. Pushes you to actually develop some product that will be helpful, and which you can also iterate upon after the end of hackathons also, whenever you guys are free. So, and also participate in fellowships. They really help you a lot in development of product and the real life product development cycle that's followed in industries. So yeah, all of this really help. Do internships, and also internships which match your interest. Definitely the interest thing always plays a crucial role. Yeah, so in all of this would definitely be important, because none of it goes into waste. That's one thing, that even if in one interview you see that none of them really asked about your projects, but in another interview it can be that 3 to 4 projects of your resume, that's only the talk of the discussion. That can also happen. So in the end, nothing goes into waste, and I can assure you that every development, every project, and every product you develop, it will definitely come into help in some part of your life. So keep innovating and developing.
Okay. So, is there any sort of a minimum or a maximum number of projects that we should include in our resume, or like one or two will do enough?
Totally, one or two will definitely do enough. It depends on the quality and not on the quantity. So definitely, if two projects of yours, they involve a very robust tech stack and has an overall good architectural, strong architectural background, and you feel confident that I can go for 30 to 40 minutes just discussing about this one project, then I think it's definitely good. So it's not just that you have to have 9 to 10 projects, 1 to 2, a couple of them, and even 3 to 4 would be definitely enough for it.
Okay. And also, like, talking about online courses, so do they actually help in getting placements? And if you have done any of the courses that you can suggest to the second years and third years?
Right. Online courses for placements, I don't know. I'm like not very sure about it, because I myself followed most of the open source stuffs, YouTube playlists and videos and all of that. So all the platforms and all. I don't think courses are really very important for placement. I think they're more important for projects when it comes to that, to develop your interest, or your, let's say, developmental skills or data science skills or any other skills that you want to acquire. Courses are important, I think, in that area. But for placements, there are enough open source things available from which you can learn and code. It also all depends on coding and practicing, right? And it's not about more of watching long videos and learning and going through courses. It's more about like just understanding the concepts and then utilizing the concepts and code accordingly. So for placements, I don't think really online courses are so much important. So there are a lot of resources available.
Okay, so basically YouTube will do good enough.
Right, YouTube's Aditya Verma, Pep Coding, and then there are several other playlists, not only these two, and also LeetCode and other platforms as well, HackRank and everything. So after all, it's just coding, right? You just have to code. So you don't have to spend time so much in going through courses and all.
Yeah, exactly. And like, what is the role of CGPA for getting placement? Like, what must be the CGPA that one should maintain in order to get a good company?
Yeah, I couldn't control my laughter. Yeah, CGPA is very important. Oh my God, what all we have faced with CGPA. So yeah, to be very frank, I hope this does not get out, but yeah, many companies have their cutoffs at 8 or 7.5 or even 8.5, but in the end it all comes down to the college placement cells as well. So they are also a very deciding factor when it comes to selection of the for the online coding round. So the CGPA helps. I mean, it's dependent a lot for your placements, and a decent one would definitely be a one around 9, above 9, I would say, definitely. So there is this concept, when it comes to placement, the slot 1, slot 2, and all that stuff that we have seen. So, and many of the companies, almost 70-75% companies, we could only see shortlisting of 9+ pointers, not to scare you all, but it was the reality. So, you are in the second year, right, Manya?
Yeah.
So gear as much as possible and just have it above 9. Then that way you are secure. They will not ask you how much above 9 you have. They'll just care, okay, above 9, that's all. But also keeping around 8.5-ish and 8.5 plus is good. Depends a lot on branches as well, as we all know, like it's nothing to hide that the first preference always given to computer science branches. So exactly. Yeah, right. And the CGPA for CSE would matter even more because there's a lot more competition there. Exactly. And so there's a lot of factors playing, but I'll definitely say that try to keep a decent CGPA. In that way, you are like foolproof, even if you have did a lot of coding, you have lot of talent. We have seen lots of our friends not getting the appropriate thing that they deserve because of CGPA. So it happens. Why go there?
We screwed up our CGPA in the first 2 years. So is it possible to maintain 9 after 2 years?
Oh yeah, it is possible. It's possible, and it will be tedious, definitely. But I think it's better when it comes to physical classes, So there are lots of discrepancies happening in online as well. So in physical class, it will be better, and you can definitely manage. You need to have a proper timeline, and as I say that if you're spending 3 hours in coding, spend appropriate hours in managing the CGPA, and then the remaining hours for your personal life. So you should have a segregation every day that this much amount of time I'll spend here, and here. So once you have that figure, I think it's fine to maintain all that. It's not an issue. After 2 years also, you can definitely keep above 9. Don't worry.
Okay, so now let's dive deep into the selection process of Wells Fargo. So can you tell us that how many rounds were there in the selection procedure of the company?
Yeah, so there were a total of 4 rounds. First was the online assessment, followed by technical interview, then technical plus managerial interview, and then a telephonic interview. So total of 4 rounds.
Okay, so can you tell us about the online assessment? Like on which platform was it held and how many questions were there?
Yeah, so online assessment was held on a platform called AMCAT, and it was a total of, I guess, 1 hour, 40 minutes, something like that. And it was divided into 3 sections. So first one was a verbal section. So there were around 10 questions, and we were given 15 minutes for them. So it was like basic verbal skills and grammatical errors and all that. So it was pretty straightforward. Then there was a very interesting and also very difficult section, which was the business aptitude section or business analytics section. So since it was a banking financial sector, Wells Fargo, so I guess they had a more focus in that area. So there were like 14 questions and involving like stocks and basic economics and all. So it required a proper decision making and also management of time, because 14 questions and I think 25 minutes and all were like graphical based. So it was a difficult round, that part. And then there was the third section was coding. So it was 60 minutes, 2 questions. So there were the question level was, one of them was according to me straightforward only, it was easy. One of them was of medium level. So yeah, that was about it all. And yeah, it was a proctored exam, of course, and use of calculator was allowed when for the business aptitude portion. So yeah.
So the coding questions that you mentioned, so can you tell us from which topics were the questions from?
If I remember correctly, one was related to matrix based something, which could also be solved from a graphical approach. Yeah, right. And another one, to be very honest, I don't remember properly. It's been such a long time, but it was easy. It was not so difficult. The matrix one was difficult because it required some difficult, I will not say difficult, medium level. So it would require some building up upon the basic concepts that we have learned on matrix or graphs. And the other one was straightforward. I think it was related to one of the basic data structure, I guess linked list or something like that. So yeah.
Okay, and within how many days did the company revert back for further rounds?
Oh, it was fast only, I guess, within 24 hours. So
okay. And what was asked in the interview round and how did you prepare for it?
Okay, interview round was very exciting actually. It was comprehensive and I enjoyed really. The interview round was really great. So the first one, the technical round one was, it was around 60 minutes for me. So it was held on Zoom. And first off, they asked me to do 2 live codings, in any of the editors I prefer. So one of that was related to OOPS. So I did not have to code it entirely, but just show that where in which all cases which data structure would be used. So I had one of a queue management system as well as part of our second problem. So yeah, that too was there. And the first one was mostly related to OOPS. So the different types of inheritance and all that's there. So yeah, that was one of them was easy, and the queue management one required some thinking. So I went along the way, like I said, from whatever I could understand from the question, I first broke it down into some parts and then approached each part individually. So that approach was kind of liked by my interviewer, and he encouraged me to go on by segregating the parts and assess, like going for each of the parts separately. So that was the thing I followed. And after that, I think he asked me 3 to 4 DSA related questions, which also had like 10 complexities and all involved. And I started off with, like we all should do that. Start off with the simple approach, then memorization, then dynamic programming methods. So once you do that, they appreciate it. They can see your process of thinking. So that's how it was there. And finally, I think he also asked a challenging question on a graph-related structure called trie. So I fortunately I was just going through it before the interview, so it just clicked suddenly and I could answer. So he was very impressed by that. Yeah, and I think one of that is that one thing that I learned giving the interview and also prior interviews to that is always have as many editors, not only editors, Notepad or Paint or anything opened when it comes to online rounds, so that you can visualize all the different stages, and you can make the interviewer visualize it too. So he knows what you are thinking, how you're proceeding. Even if you're not able to successfully solve the entire thing, he knows that this is a correct approach of thinking and decision making that he or she is following. So that also helped me a lot. That was of the first round, and I got a call within 10 minutes for the second round. I think I still believe it's for the try question. So anyway, the second round was technical plus managerial rounds. It was I think it was around 40 minutes for me. It was also on Zoom, and first off they started about basic introduction, and then he moved to the project section and my preferred tech stacks and why do I prefer it more than other existing tech stacks, something like that. And also OOPS and OS, then some basic agile management methods in software engineering, all that stuff was there. And then he asked me a kind of a tricky question as to why working at Wells versus other companies, what do you think? So these are all basic questions. I think once you start preparing and you're going through online resources, you'll all see this kind of a set of basic questions available online. So you have to prepare it beforehand always. And yeah, even while interviewing with him, he loved one of my project, as I mentioned, an e-commerce one, and he was discussing more in detail about it. And so definitely, like, keeping a resume handy and also confident about all the projects and everything that you mentioned there is definitely important, because they'll keep it open always throughout the interview and they can ask you anything from that. And after that, the third round, the final round, sorry, fourth round was the telephonic call. So it came around after an hour of my second round, and it lasted around 15 to 19 minutes for me. He asked me general questions in the beginning, like background, location preferences, interests, hobbies, and all, and suddenly shifted to cloud management and search engine optimization. So it was a mixture of everything, but it was very fun, and he put the call down on a good note. So yeah, that was pretty much it, the entire process.
So from where did you took help of those projects that you mentioned were liked by the interviewer?
It all begun from, I think, first year only, when I participated in one of the hackathons. Then I really understood that okay, my interest lies in this field of data science or ML based projects, and then I started going through basic projects, hands-on experiences on YouTube playlists, and even some courses on Udemy or Coursera helped a lot. And we all know Andrew NG. We all have to do that for machine learning part. So it all started off from there. But then, fortunately, I had a couple of internships which also aligned or made me realize more that, yeah, this is where my interest lies more. So, yeah, as I mentioned, that to understand your interest, it's not easy. You have to have more hands-on experience in the projects or in internships or in any hackathon based or anything, even your college J components and all. So they help you understand that okay, your interest lies here, and once you can identify your interest, then it's just uphill for you. You know which projects and which courses to take, which playlists to follow, which problem statement to follow. And even you will see, like, in many hackathons that the problem statements are released like public to all. Smart India hackathon also does that, so you can view earlier problem statements as well. So from there also you can understand, or you can have an overview of these are the areas that you find challenging or find like, okay, I'll work here, I'll do something here. So from that only it all starts. And after that, once you identify, then there are lots of resources available, so to go through that.
Okay. And like when we talk about the interview round, so is it good that we prepare for it beforehand, or one can prepare for it after the results for the first round are out?
Definitely beforehand, not wait after the results are out, because it's not only 1 hour preparation. Interviews are not only just answering the DSA questions or OOPS question, but it's also like your overall personality, overall confidence that you have, the delivery of your whatever you are doing. So like it might be that you have really impressive stuffs on your resume, but you can't communicate well enough. So that's a barrier, right? So for that, do as many self-mirrored interviews as possible. Cross question yourself or interview with friends and family just for fun. And just like they can also have different thinking, view of different perspectives of the problem that you are thinking is not a problem, they might think it is. So you can have a different view about a specific topic. So it's obviously very much important to have it prepared from before. And yeah, more you talk to yourself. It might sound crazy, but I love talking to myself, and I used to do that a lot before interviews. And I speak and then I say, oh no, this is not right, I should do it this way. And I take down small notes. And in the end, if you have like before an interview, you can just go through some small communicational or personality notes. So this is how you should deliver while talking to an interviewer or being part of an interview. So that really helps a lot. So it helps you develop a smart and confident personality, and be calm when it comes to interviews, because we know it's really intimidating. It's really intimidating. Even no matter how many, how much confidence a person has that okay, I can nail it, but still the last 5 minutes before going into the call, it's really scary. So definitely a more comprehensive view of it from beforehand would help a lot, rather than waiting for after the call. Yeah.
Okay. Also, there is always a fear of dynamic programming among the juniors. So, is that topic really hard, or it's just because seniors keep repeating to people that they have started believing that it's actually hard?
Yeah. DP can be very intimidating for sure, and the one thing that helps always is practice, because there are some basic concepts, like fundamental concepts in dynamic programming, which you need to have first. And it seems at first to go over your head, but once you practice more and once you have a better understanding of the basic problems or the basic concepts, then you can approach a dynamic programming problem from your own view. And you can break it down into two parts. One is the part that relates to a concept that you already came across, and one is the part that you have to build upon on the existing concept. So how can this happen? It can happen definitely from practicing. I remember earlier, like I also faced the same thing. So like DP, oh my god, I also keep it for the end part, all the other problems first, then DP. But actually it turned out to be really fun because it's very interesting. It's very interesting to learn all the different concepts involved. And Aditya Verma, we all know, he's a great guy when it comes to dynamic programming. So it really helps a lot. Even pep coding playlist, I keep on repeating. But yeah, they really helped a lot, to be very honest. That's why. And yeah, also like if you're liking the concepts of DP and you're practicing it and you keep repeating it and practicing similar problems, then you'll definitely grasp a hold of it. It's nothing, heaven and hell. It's all fine. So instead of just diving at coding straight away, so if you're like someone who likes stalling and understanding the problem statement more for some time and make the roadmap clear, then dynamic programming is just for you. It's just your piece of cake. So don't be afraid to start. Sometimes like the difficulty at the greatest things are fun things. They might look intimidating at first, but they are the actual backbones. And more and more dynamic programming problems you do, you'll actually see that you can approach the other problems with a more clearer mindset, and you can grasp the internal concepts more clearly. So it helps a lot, and definitely don't be afraid to start. Go for it. And I'll say go for it first.
Okay. So any other piece of advice that you would suggest to the juniors who are going to sit for the placements?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. I don't know how much it will help you guys, but I would say that first, be very dedicated and consistent in the amount of time that you spend every day for placements and also for college CGPA maintenance, and also for your personal time and also for your personal projects and other parts. So as I mentioned before, the actual time management helps a lot, and have maintained to-dos and short notes lists and the yellow, green, red flag structures and all. Those really helps a lot. Practice self-interviews and develop the habit of jotting down or scribbling any problem statements while you're reading it for the first time, because as I was mentioning earlier, that it really helps to make the other person, the person on the other side of the screen, understand your way of thinking. So that way, if you are doing it beforehand while you're practicing from now, jotting down some small points about a problem when you first encounter it and it's very new to you, so it would help a lot. And go through the archives, the Geek for Geek archives, I forgot to mention. It's really helpful. And also, while setting for a company's interview round, make sure to have a little more understanding about the background of the company, where it's coming from, what are the recent products that they are proud of, which innovations they are more capable of. So in that way, you can bring up small anecdotes while talking to the interviewer, and he might actually be impressed that, okay, this person has some background knowledge or studied. It's not just a general approach he or she is bringing. So that actually helps a lot. Rest, just to believe in yourself, and I'm totally confident that you all would nail it. As 99% is hard work and 1% is luck. So let's give the 99% and leave the rest to the universe. Yeah, that's all.
That is some really great piece of advice that you have given from your side. And it was on a very well-informed podcast. And it covered, I guess, all the ins and out of the placements and your most valuable placement experience. So our whole PlaceU team, thank you for being here and sharing such essential advice. And it is very great for all of us to have you here. And we wish you all the best for your future. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Manya. I wish you all the best too.
Thank you so much. And to all the pals out there who are watching our video and aiming for placements, do follow Ishita Dasgupta on LinkedIn, and you can find her ID in the description. And if the information was great and you want us to continue such series, hit the like button and follow us on LinkedIn and Insta, and share it with your best buddies Wala group. Subscribe to our channel to get notified. Stay safe, keep smiling. Bye bye.